Well, good day, everybody. Here we go for Friday night, 10th of November. Big weekend coming up, so hope you have a good one. And it's rainy and windy and blowy and cold here in the Sub-Delone. Quite amazing. Lutz was telling me for a week here, solid a week or so ago, they had like 40 knots one day, 50 knots the next day, 40 knots, 60 knots, and so on. But anyway, definitely into winter this side of the world. And what's happening? Explorer's looking pretty reasonable. The electrical's all done. The bits are on board. They're setting everything up, and it looks like Sunday's the day for them. And Godspeed, they disappeared for a day or so to recover. Now they're back into it, looking at a couple of issues, trying to find one more crew member. Explorer's got 2 new crew. Really quite a cool crew, both women, and we'll tell you about that later on. But anyway, the crew signed on pretty quick, and we're now looking for crew on Explorer for leg 3 and 4. Just signed one for leg 4, but we've got another spot for leg 4 and also Cape Horn. So if you're interested, check out the post on the thing, and we might be able to give you a life-changing experience. Anyway, straight into the tracker. There's some interesting stuff going on. And I'll start explaining it by an impression of the Southern Ocean in general right now. Pretty benign, really. If we go right back and look at where they're going across to New Zealand, you can see this is the runline course. They're the waypoints they've got to go around all the way to New Zealand, and there's not a lot happening around the 40s. This is the roaring 40s. Once you get below the 40th parallel here, there's one bit of a blow up forward, but it's from the north. That's fine. And northerly usually doesn't create a huge sea. But if you've had a preceding southwesterly and then you get a northwesterly or something like that, you get a cross sea. But generally, it's pretty quiet on the home front. There's not a lot going on. So that's a change in the seasons. We're getting more and more into summer in the southern hemisphere. So things will stabilize. So that's the first part that's pretty cool. If we now come up and look at what's going on here, we'll start off at the back of the fleet with Sterner. Pretty straightforward, doing 5.5 knots. Rufus is heading due south right now, and I'm not sure. Again, it may be that he's riding just these calms here. If he's doing 5.5, it's okay, but it's pretty quickly. It's about to swing to the southwest, and then he'll ride that over. If you look at this here, there's a bit of a transition. He's got probably a slight headwinds, so he's making the most of it. And then when it swings to the southwest and starts building, you'll probably peel off a bit and head down a similar track to the rest of the fleet. Neptune, they're making good progress. They've got a northeasterly coming up, 8.3 knots. That's pretty good. And they've already chopped over some of the currents up there. Let's just have a look at the currents here. You can see when they got up there, I didn't notice this at the time, but they're bucking the head current to get up to Port Elizabeth, which is why they maybe took a little bit longer than expected. But now they're well and truly on their way. And it looks like for sure they didn't have any outside assistance, so they're in the hunt. And we've now got to assess the issues associated with that to see if there will be a slight time penalty under the notice of race. And we'll review that over the weekend and come back with something on Monday, I suppose. But they're looking good. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. Current-wise with the rest of it, they're just cutting across this band here, so there's nothing dramatic about what's going on with currents for the rest of the fleet. And let's just pick this up. There's an interesting thing happened today. They're getting weather forecasts. Some of them are getting weather forecasts, sharing them around. And apparently we took 2 calls. One was from Marie saying, there's 50 knots coming. Why haven't we got a weather forecast, a warning and stuff on us, and Maiden was the same. We got a call there saying, hey, there's 50 knots coming. Why haven't we got a weather forecast? And it's quite simply because the forecast we're seeing at the moment don't suggest, first of all, that the fleet will be impacted, and secondly, it'll probably go straight behind them, but we're monitoring it. So we put out an advisory just to settle everyone down and say, look, you've got some weather coming, but if you stay, I'll explain it all fully later. If you keep going the way you're going, it's going to all go behind you, so it won't have any impact. And I'll explain a bit more of that in a minute. Because we basically monitor everything about 48 hours out. We don't give any weather warnings earlier than 48 hours unless it's extreme, just to warn them, because the forecast can change quite dramatically between now and then, and we need to look at the projection of where the boats will be at the time. So White Shadow, back end of this lead group, 8.3 knots. That's pretty good. 143 nautical mile a day. Got a really nice breeze there. They'll be enjoying this, even though the sea's typical Southern Ocean. They're getting probably 25 knot northwesterly there, maybe a bit higher, gusting 30. And Avrika doing 9.5 knots, lapping it up. They sent us a photo. It looks really impressive out in the Southern Ocean there. It looks real. They're down there doing it, which is great. So 168 nautical mile a day. They were sitting in the cockpit. There was a video clip came from a day or so ago. Quite comfortable. Galliana with Secure, 9.4 knots. So she's doing well against Evrika, keeping up with her quite comfortably. I'll just pick this up one more so we get a bit of an idea. Outlaw, chuffing along, 9.3. I think they're all, it's interesting, all three of these boats, similar boats, I suppose. Outlaw's maybe a bit more powerful than Galliana with Secure. Evrika's a lot more powerful, but they're enjoying the ride and staying safe and all that sort of stuff. So they're keeping on a par with that. Triana has sort of dropped back a little bit. Probably because of a factor of the weather, obviously, but doing 6.2 knots, and Outlaw's now, pushing ahead of Triana, which is interesting. Usually Triana's way out in front, even though it's a smaller boat. And the crew are quite adept at all this stuff. So I think they lucked out on the weather. 107 nautical miles in the day. And coming across next, Esprit de Keep, doing 8.2 and 131 miles in the day. So there was a slight compression there for a while with the fleet, but now the lead four here, the lead pack, is slowly pushing ground and getting ahead of the game. 8.8 knots for Penduic, but she did stall for a while. Only did 127 nautical miles in the day. That allowed the rear enders to catch up a bit. 153 miles a day for Maiden, 7.6 knots. They had some big speed issues yesterday. This wind now is a true northerly, so it's directly on the beam, and that makes for a wet ride, obviously, when you've got big seas. And you saw that in the picture from Spirit of Helsinki. They sent one, and you got this big rolling breaker, maybe 3-4 meters, maybe a bit more, breaking on, in line with the course. So they're taking it on the beam, which is always a bit tricky. Anyway, they've been doing 9.5 knots at the moment, and right on top of, let's just see how close they are. Whoops. We'll push it up. Wrong one. Come on. Here we go. That's a bit better. So translated, 9, doing really well to keep up, because there's no question that Swan 651 is dramatically more powerful than a Swan 65. So again, translated, doing pretty well. And to give you a distance there of where they are, how far behind Spirit of Helsinki, 2.1 miles. So 2 miles, they're absolutely looking at the sails. They're looking at each other. Both would be able to look forward or aft, and they know where they are. So it's a good benchmark. It's always good to be following rather than leading, because when you're leading, the pressure's on. Following, you just go for it and hope you can hold them. So they're having a bit of fun for sure. Get rid of that. Come back here. So translated 9.3, 153 mile day. And Juicy on Spirit of Helsinki, 152 mile day, 9.5, neck and neck, holding their own. That's very good, quite fun. So what's happening with the weather? And this is where it gets kind of interesting. So I'll come back to the big picture and just do an overview, show you what's going to happen first, then explain what's likely to happen as the fleet carries on. You'll see here, so this is coming through to the end of today. And then we get into the 11th. This is 10:30 in the morning on the 11th tomorrow. And you can see they're going to slow down a little bit. And then you've got this system here sneaking up from behind them. Okay. And that's going to have a bit of breeze in it. So as it comes over, you can see here, there's or potentially if I go back one, here, see where you got the blue there. That's where you might get gusts from 40 to 50 knots and so on. Okay, that's the hardcore bit. It's a low pressure system that's forming just below them. There's the low pressure there going around in a clockwise direction, and always on the top edge of that. That's where everything compresses and gets a bit faster, wind speed wise. So that's where the wind's going to be. But if you follow this forward, this is what's projected to happen. You can see it's now immediately decreasing in strength, and it's going straight up to the northeast. Boom, boom, and it's gone. Okay, and then you're left with a really good southerly or a southwesterly or something like that to keep going. Now, generally, what the fleet is looking like they're doing, they're either going due east or they're heading down in an east-southeasterly direction, okay, down this way. And if we look at when that weather is due to hit, we can go through it. It's at least 36 hours away. So here goes In fact, I just confirm it from now. This is 16:30. That's 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. So it's an hour and a half ago. But we'll use the next one as the bump. Oh no, that's because that's the same. That's when the positions on the tracker was for 16:30, 1600, I think. Yeah, 1600. So this is all correct. So if we push it through for 1600 tomorrow or 16:30, that's what we got tomorrow. So what's going to happen is the boats are moving down at those sort of speeds. They're going to cover about 90 or 100 miles easily, probably more, maybe 150 miles before they start to slow down. Now, 150 miles, if we use White Shadow as the benchmark, because he's the furthest behind, 150 miles is around about here. And that's at 35 degrees east. So White Shadow within 24 hours is likely to be, just check this, 24 hours is likely to be around about 35 east. This is longitudes east of Greenwich. So there's 30, there's 35 east, there's 40 east over here. So as I say, in 24 hours, White Shadow is due to be about here somewhere. Then if we keep coming for another, and I'll shrink this back a bit so you can see this wind coming up behind them. And remembering now that's 40, so here was 35 in the middle, and that's about where White Shadow is going to be. And everyone else will be down here and further to the southeast by an equivalent amount. They're going to be down here somewhere. But remember this position here at 35. As we go through, you can see that wind coming across. And first thing is it's gone up. It's heading up over 40 degrees south. Okay, and it hasn't even reached 35 degrees east yet. Okay, so say if White Shadow was here, it's still moving away from him, and this is only 36 hours out. So White Shadow would have been progressed even further to the east, right? And then coming through here, by the time we get to 2 days out from now, it's all gone, it's disappeared. And the only action happened across this angle here, right? Now, the rest of the fleet, 48 hours from there, you can look at Penjuic. She's going to be at least 300 miles in front within 36 hours. So 300 miles, they're way down here somewhere. So this puff that's coming through that's concerning the fleet, it appears that it's going to miss them and go behind. And it's going to be too far in front of Neptune to be worried there as well. So what we did, just to settle them down, because they've got a forecast that says, you're going to get 50 knots, the alert, which is 48 hours out from when their impact, which we did earlier today, simply said, if I get this out of the way, it simply said that any boats that are south of 40 degrees south, and there's 40 degrees there, so if you stay south of 43 degrees south, and east of 34 degrees east, which is over here, so if you imagine a line there and here, any boats that are below this or east of that, you're not going to get anything. It's just going to go straight past. So they all know where they want to be. They've got to be the other side of those two lines by 1200 Zulu on the 20th, which was basically 48 hours ahead. So at the moment, it looks like it's not going to impact the fleet. The wind strengths that they were going to get leading up in that area affected, none of them will be in the affected area, was 35 to 36 knots. And that was, forecast for about 36 hours out. And the gusts were going to be somewhere as high as 45 to 50 knots. So the process now for us is to continue monitoring this. And if we see anything change, because there are 3 computer models that we look at, ECMWF is the one that we usually use, right? But we also monitor a couple of others just to see if they're all corroborating the story of weather. And if we think we need to give them another one tomorrow or at any time, we will. But at this stage, it looks like they're in the clear. They just missed a little puff, and they'll have reasonably good sailing going through. So that's about all I can tell you there. Neptune are going to be happy. They'll be behind it, so they'll get a good solid wind gradient, plenty of breeze to keep catching up. There was a slight compression that we talked about a couple of days ago with the leaders. So if you look at the distances now, it's not bad. We're 5 days out from the start, and you can say, rightio, who do you want to pick? Well, Maiden is now currently effectively only 50 miles behind Penjuic, and the Esprit de Keep is effectively, say, from there to Transom to Transom. Now, the speed of keep is about 100 miles behind Penjuic after day 5. That's not too bad. And what have we got? Triana. We can pick another one. Triana and the speed of keep. Okay, they're 30 miles behind. Oh, no, that's bow to bow. So they're about 40 miles behind the speed of keep. Pretty good. And the good news is for Galliana with Secure and Triana, look at that, bow to bow, probably only about 20 miles behind Triana. So finally, they're having a bit of a go. Tapio today was able to give Asteria a salute. Asteria was his Golden Globe race boat, and he came as close as he's likely to get to where she actually went down, sunk unexpectedly in minutes. So it was around a position around about here somewhere, if I remember rightly. Yeah, just in here. So he threw a bit of a memory to Asteria. Now currently on the bottom somewhere there, and all sorts of interesting stories. They're still having fun, that's for sure. Their tweets are good, and I think that's probably about it for now. We could look at the leaderboard, but I think it's still pretty self-explanatory. I mean, there's not a lot in it. You know, you could go through the line honours. I think you can see what's going on. Penjuic, Spirit of Helsinki, translated 9. Not a lot in it though. There's only in fact, Penjuic and Spirit of Helsinki are both showing distance sailed as exactly 1,032 and 1,032, so they're neck and neck. And then translated is 1,002, Maiden 980, the Speed of Keep 941. So there's really bugger all in it, and everyone's having a good time. That's the important one. And line honours, that was line honours, IRC. It's all about translated 9, who's got a real jump on everyone. If you look at over the side here, you've got the corrected elapsed time. So that's effectively where they'd be, you know, if you take into consideration their handicapping. So she's on 44 days and 8 hours. Maiden is on 47 hours. So 4, 5, 6, 7. So or close 8 hours off of 3 days in front on handicap for the leg, which is, you know, is a pretty commanding position. So you can play around with all that. I don't think I need to read it. Just a reminder, if you're watching this on apps, on your phone, on your mobile, you don't get all these features on the phone. You know, you need to be on a PC to get all the fun stuff like cloud cover. Let's look at that. Clouds, I'll just zip it up here. Ooh, pretty solid. A lot of rain down here, but a hit and miss. So there's no clouds here, some there. Temperature-wise, we looked at that yesterday. Pressure will be nothing. Waves, let's see what we've got. Still, okay, it's a bit of a mix. When you get the blue, you're down under sort of 2.5 meters, 3 meters. So certainly the middle here, they're enjoying the ride. And it's dropped down a little bit from what it was yesterday. Yesterday, there was quite a sea running, but it meant for some good pictures. Okay, I think that's probably enough there. I'll just come back and see what we've got here for comments or questions. I got an OGR Q&A up at the moment, so if you've got a question, you can stick it in the comments, and when I see enough there, I'll get to answer those questions, and we can see what's going on. Kathleen, afternoon from Mississippi. What happened to our lead-in? I don't know. I was worried about that because I heard it, but I didn't see it. So, and it's really weird. You know, I never know what's going on. I press the right button. It's playing. I test it before I go live, and it's there. And then tonight, that was the first one. Time we click, what do you say? The computer blip you on, and why the time we click over, you're going at 100 miles an hour in the first 39 seconds. Okay, sounds like there's a funny compression. You must have been catching up. I don't know. Could be here. The internet connection I'm running on my phone, plugged in, hot wired into the side here, because we can't get 5G cable, unfortunately. And it might mean, just tip you off on the weekend when everyone's here, although it's middle of winter, so it's not so bad. In summer, we have so many. So the Sable alone goes from something like 65,000 residents to about 240,000 people here for a month or so over summer. And they suck up all the internet, and we have problems. But I don't think we'll see that. So sorry, Kathleen, can't answer much more than that. Good weekend from Sweden. Yeah, have a good one. Hi from Emsworth. Thanks for the no problem. Afternoon from Waveland. What happened to our intro? Same one. Kathleen, good afternoon from Waveland. Oh, geez, you're hitting it there. You're getting repeats. Okay, you said a few days ago that some boats are under investigation for possible rule infractions. That's right. Can you say more about that, please? No, we can't. There's a carryover on that, which will be referred to when when we get to Auckland. The funny one I can talk about, because all the managers have been advised, I think there's 7 boats that we're giving fines for not flying the appropriate flags on the start line. They weren't flying, sponsor flags. Not that we have any, but it is to help sponsors later. And some weren't even flying Leaklos, so they'll be fined for that. We notified them of that issue in the notice of race in an entrant update, and about 2 days before the start, we said, please fly the flags, please put your Leaklos on, or you will be fined. And bingo, they turn up and there's no flags and Leaklos on some of them. So that's fine. And then we'll notify the entrants and remind them about the finish, and hopefully they'll have them right at the finish. And hi from Carolina, it's in French trajectory. Don't know what that was, but anyway. Good evening from Irish woman in Portugal. Was the most impressed to read on the maiden factor that they are sharing all their weather information with the other boats. I think that is incredible. That's the funny part about, and the good part about it. Even the entrants themselves, they're using radios and they are sharing a lot of information, a lot of data. And some people in sailing are gobsmacked about that for a couple of reasons. One is most of the boats aren't using long-range radios these days. They use satellite communications, and you can't exactly ring up all your mates to share weather information on a satellite phone. But when you're using radios, it's very easy. Everyone tunes in on the same time. And I'm always surprised some of the reactions, because that's the way it used to be all the time. And that's kind of cool. Because that's what we're trying to recreate, and it's creating this whole social interaction. And I can remember reading some commentary from some of the Vendée Globe skippers saying how some of the heart of the racing and that sort of bonding of entrants has been lost for a couple of reasons. And they're natural. It's super competitive. It's a lot of money involved with the race and stuff. But there's still a human side. Just, oh, g'day, boys. How's it going? And having a good chat between yourselves. A few of the entrants bring that up. And that is born of, a big part because you just don't have radios now. It's all WhatsApp. When you're on WhatsApp, yes, you can form groups and things like that. But yeah, it's good to see the fleet getting back into those wholesome values. And I think that's where some of the raw emotion and the camaraderie of the fleet when they get into port is so strong. It's all shared adventure. They're racing against each other, but they all know that they're pretty much on their own when you're down there, and a lot of serious stuff to face. So it's good to see. I always love that. So okay, good evening from Ireland. G'day. Hi, Donald. Most of the boats have a functional weather fax. Yes, it's a requirement of the race. We made the weather fax mandatory, but I won't be making it mandatory in 2027 in the next edition. Because then when we made it mandatory, all the entrants thought, it would, we can't get any weather, but it's only an aid. So they have to have one. G'day, Annie. Yep, good to be back. Cold, wet and windy. Why isn't the SoundCloud feed marked public so that it could be used with a regular podcast catcher? I'm not sure. I'll find out. All the SoundClouds are free to the public to be used wherever any media want it, this, that, and the other. It's open. You can log into it and copy it and do whatever. It's public access. So I'll find out. So I've got to remember that if Rob's watching. Why isn't the SoundCloud feed marked public? It should be. So good day, everybody. All right, that's it. So we'll see you hopefully same time tomorrow, and have a good weekend. See you later.